And there is an attachment which actually was sent out to tree board at the bottom of our agenda where it says, there's an attachment that Alice wrote about the town council decision about Firewise, and then she was also, which I think is a wonderful thing, that she mentioned how the different levels of the ground up came up, and that the town council was able to pass and work on the concerns of the citizens and town tree board and Landcare. So it's written out. I'd be happy to read it, part of it, or if you would like to, because I know that you'll be making a report for Firewise with.
Do you mind reading it? I'd have to get out of this to print it out.
Oh, sure. I'll read it. I have it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah, she had her second cataract surgery yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why she's out. She's had both eyes done now, so she can see clearly.
Isn't that amazing what the progress is of cataract surgery? I can remember my mother-in-law telling me when her mother or father had to have it done, you had to lie in bed for 24 hours. You couldn't move and you had blocks on your head.
And it is the simplest surgery ever. I mean, you just, the eye drops they give you take care of everything.
Who did it? Did you know that?
Dr. Josephs, he's at Carolina Ophthalmology. He's really good and he's done thousands of them. I had one done by him.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But it's just, I think it's like a 10-minute surgery. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have some have some people. Jason Nance is getting his second shot today, sort of like what Patty did last month. And he couldn't, he's getting it this morning right at 9 o'clock. And then Dottie, I think, is going to be on with the college, but Josh Holbrook is preaching at chapel, and then he's taken off with his family to drive to Connecticut. So I'll explain some of his reporting that he'll do next month. So
okay.
And I know Maggie's coming on. Tree board, Ann said she may not be able to, but we'll see who shows up.
Okay. Well, there's.
Can you tell? I don't know, Alice, if you can tell me, or anybody, if someone from the public comes on and I can't tell. I also wish to have anyone that wishes from the public to say something, or if they wish to speak. That might be dangerous, but no, we are an open meeting, public meeting. So
Jim Williamson just got on.
Oh, good.
Hello.
Jim.
Hey, Dottie.
We're gonna have a crowning of your position of the National Wildlife Habitat person next month, but you're in the learning stages today. I love the background. Usually Peggy's at the front of it when we have church chat. It's nice to see your face.
Yeah, well, I try to avoid these meetings as much as I can. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very happy to be part of this group.
Oh, this is wonderful. And I think we need to have an introduction to you if you wish to wait till May. I wasn't sure if you wanted to be on. I just wanted you to know you have access to this for this month, and we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
And let's see who else is on now. We got Martha coming on. That's her ceiling.
Yeah. And I apologize, I cannot get my video started, so y'all will just have to see the square P and know that it's me.
Oh, P for Patty and P for Powell.
Indeed, I've messed with it all I know how to, and I can't get it on.
That's fine. That's fine. We're now at 9:01, so I would like to go ahead and see who is here. Can we just kind of chime in? I know Jim is here. We just visited. We got our secretary. Martha's coming on, and Patty. How about is Dottie? I've already explained about a couple of the people at the conference center. Tracy, I think, will be on soon, but maybe not. But I'd like to welcome everyone. And if we have any visitors, please let me know. And certainly know that if there is any need to tell me to go back, or if I miss something on as we go down our agenda. But why don't we pause now for a moment of reflection and just silently reflect on your thoughts of this beautiful spring day. Thank you. All righty. As I was saying to some of you all earlier that came on, Alice Lentz is not here today. She is going to, I have a report that she sent. Jason Nance is getting his COVID shot, and Josh is preaching at the chapel and then driving to Connecticut, and he is going to Paraguay for 10 days or maybe more with a student and with his wife as well. But they're going to go to Paraguay. And I said, I hope you can find some hellbenders. He says, Paraguay does not have any salamanders. They just have big snakes.
Ooh.
So he is in his element, and he is going to be providing information with the stormwater runoff. He's been working as the college in the town, and that will be on his agenda with in May. And also Bill Seaman is going to be reporting about his Flat Creek in May or June. So he's at home flat on his back with after his second shot.
Mm.
So if it's anyone else on, have we gotten Jean Norris on yet? Because she's going to be doing some great reporting on the plant sale, and some attachments were sent out. If you bring those up, we don't have to have everything reported that was on those attachments, but if there is any thoughts of where we want to interject, I'm going to be adding some, reviewing the agenda, but our big goal today is to look for time sensitiveness is Jean Norris's plant sale publicity, which is actually taking the place of an actual, plant sale that she discussed last month. And then Patty Powell is on for a wonderful updating, and she had not been able to attend because she was getting her shot, but the Children and Outdoors Project, there's a great report that we've been chatting about, and Patty and I have been the detectives. We seem to be finding out some wonderful things, and she's going to update us about that, and needing some budget monies for some printing, as well as the plant sales too. And then I'm going to just talk briefly about the present and future expenditures after we find out any update of Alex. And Alex, are you planning to do a budget report? Oops, Alex?
Sorry, I do not have a budget report for today.
Okay, I've had great talks with Darlene, and I now have a complete understanding. Well, I shouldn't say complete, but I now have a better understanding of our two funds, the contributing fund and those that we are given by the town council for our regular annual budget. So let's review our agenda. The one thing I want to add, and you can chime in as well, is I should always have the environmental concerns listed, and I do have a couple of those that we're going to address, because I have been getting along with Martha. It's wonderful. Martha is, the past chair, and Martha thinks, everyone thinks Martha is still a chair of Landcare, but there's this, forwarding thing that you can get on your computer. So I've been getting a lot of forwarding items from Martha, but she's with me on reviewing and contacting and talking with people because of her expertise in Landcare and environmental concerns. So we're going to talk about two of those areas, and that would be, of course, we get information from the public of the lodge and the environmental impact, and then also now the wind lithia. So those are the two environmental concerns that we will be adding to the agenda in a few minutes. Is there any other agenda item that you would like to ask about or add something? Okay, so I would like to put the environmental concerns after the Landcare budget talk, and so that we can move right on to reviewing the minutes of our previous meeting. And that was an attachment that Meredith sent me, and we would like to open up with any review of those minutes. Do we have any comments, concerns, or corrections for the minutes?
I'll move
Meredith.
to approve them.
Thank you. I don't know if we need a second, but I'll ask for a second. Hey, Dottie. Okay, we have a second. All right. There's no budget report from Alex, but I wanted to tell you that I've been having discussion with a variety of the people who are working on activities and projects. Money that is needed to keep our community functioning, our community activities. I am going to be preparing with and sending to Alice, our town commissioner, who will present and be supportive, hopefully, with our request for our new budget that would be beginning in July 1 of this next, this coming summer. We had, as you remember from the COVID problems and budgeting from last year, a striking of $2,000, which was regularly what we would get on an annual budget, down to $1,000. And so we would like to, and talking with Darlene, she said, go for going back up to your regular, actually the 2,000. It's possible that we're looking at a little bit more than that, maybe with $2,050, because I've been looking at even some of the stream teams needs for which we did with the Bill Siemens project. We paid for some of that study and the study of the waters, and also we're looking at possibly increasing more with some of the recertification or an annual fee from the kids in the park, and Patty Powell will be explaining that in a few minutes. So if any of you, if I might be calling you individually, I'd like to have any thoughts about budget right now, but I can individually talk to you before I prepare the written one to send to Alice. Any comments? Any thoughts? Is Jean Norris on yet? No. Okay, it's Jean's area of the native plant sale that's the biggest bulk that we like to be sure we contain at least 1,000. I'm hoping to maybe even make it to go to 1,200. There are a lot of things that increase with advertising, publicity, and so I'm going to talk with Jean again, because she and Mason Blake have presented a marvelous report at the end of their native plant sales, and so we can certainly qualify with the amount of money needed for that project. Any comments about how well, right now we have 800 and maybe it's $36, but we're using that toward the native plant sale publicity, and also with Patty Powell's report about increasing some printing of brochures, as well as maybe even ones that are already prepared by Arboretum, et cetera, and Kids in the Park.
Grace, I do have one question.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dumb question because I'm new. Do we get our funding from the town council?
Yes, we are under the town and as advisory committee, and our funding. Of course, we have contributions that were given, for example, over the years from Nancy Hope, or from the churches, or from generous foundations that are educational, that like our mission and want to take care of the land. But every year we have we apply, I apply, Martha has applied to share that. It gives us and maybe Alex, you can give an understanding of this, that we're not a real town committee like Tree Board, but we have in our bylaws that we are staffed by Alex and another like the town commissioner. So Alex, explain, is there any other explanation for that?
Landcare is an independent committee, and the town is a member of the committee. So we, the town, are part of Landcare, and not the other way around necessarily. So the town contributes to its annual budget, or sets aside funds for its annual budget. And this year it was $1,000, as Grace said. And other member organizations often contribute as well.
Yep.
Okay, and then one more follow-up. As far as the decision is made about how to use those funds, Is our committee's decision subject to approval or review by anybody else?
No.
No,
No. Actually, if we get 2,000, we can shuffle around the expenditures. If we put in that we, spend 1,000 for land care, I mean, for the native plant sale, and we don't spend it, it stays within our budget. But if we don't use these funds by June 31, we lose it. And the contributing amounts come over and stay with us. I was thinking of something regarding the money, Jim. We are looking at, and I think Maggie's going to address this next month, because she and Dottie and also Alice are looking at a position of a treasurer that just would be the person who would say, this is what we have in the budget. You go through that treasurer in order for you to go out and get whatever printing. And so you don't come back and just say, here's my receipts. We want to be able to have a budget toward all the projects that we do and be careful with our funds, because I think we're glad to know that this our town is in support. I think, Alex, if there's some concerns with anything about liability, that we are under is that how I would express that we're under the town's?
It's a little vague.
Is it?
I think we need to be sure the language is very clear, and we're working on that. The bylaw people are working on that.
Okay. Because that is mentioned originally in the old bylaws that, oh, I know what I was going to say was that the beginning of Landcare's bylaws was written with Ron Nally and O'Neill Tate and others who were heading up the Parks and Recreation Department. This is what Landcare is in the town. There is no Parks and Recreation, which many towns have, and there are monies that go toward that. So that is why our town is supporting our Landcare. So we'll have that more discussion. Jim, good question.
and I can add one thing, Grace.
Yeah,
And
please
that
do.
is of the other members of Landcare, Jim.
Yes.
Some of them, especially the college and the conference center, give in kind to the support of Landcare. So they may provide a space, or they may provide volunteers to do projects, different things. The conference center has in the past made copies sometimes for us.
Set up tables and things.
Set up tables, different parts of the native plant sale, especially. Montreat Presbyterian makes an annual donation, a financial donation. And Hal has been responsible for that. And it was around $425 this year. So the other financial money may come that way, or supporting particular projects.
And our annual luncheon, which we haven't been able to have to honor our appointees for the Landcare Hall of Fame, is provided with the three entities contributing toward that lunch with food, and we have the facilities of the dining hall for that program. Excuse me. And of course, we have banners, a lot of things that are needing to be updated. And of course, I wanted to report that there was an invoice for Jeff Hudson of $1,080, which we were able to pay for his upgrading of his dozen items for the website. And Ann Neal is providing her own professional monies. I mean, her own professional skills, and not charging us for her maintaining the website. And she that's a gracious act for her to give to Landcare. So that will be updated, and we'll have a big report maybe next month regarding what Alice and I feel with. And I don't know if the deadline, Alex, for this budget, but I'm assuming you're already in the midst of talking about committee budgets. Is that correct, Alex?
Yes, we definitely are.
Okay, is there a deadline date?
There's not a specific deadline, but the sooner the better.
Yeah, and that will be coming this coming week. All right. Let's see, is there any other area for our budget and land care budget and environmental concerns. Now, that's where I would like to put in the two comments from public reports. So Martha, you want to just
Grace, I
summarize
want-
what?
Well, I
Go
want to
ahead.
say that we have two community members who are participating today, which is wonderful.
Cool.
Welcome, Mary Standard and Nancy Fox. So
Yes.
we're glad you're here. We can't always see each other on all the screens at the same time.
Yes,
Anyway.
and Nancy wrote an email to Martha, and then Martha forwarded that to me yesterday afternoon. And maybe we'll start with, maybe we could just go ahead and start with Winlithia. I'd like to give a background first, if that would be okay, Martha.
Oh, please,
Um,
no, they're yours.
Yeah, well, Bob Wynn, and we've got Mari Gramlin, and we have Alan Hutchins,
Henshin, yeah.
Hinchin, excuse me.
That's right.
She's a neighbor of that North Carolina. She was Alan Spencer when I knew her before she married. But Bob Wynn wrote me yesterday, and he wanted to give a background of what's going on at Winlithia Spring. For your interest in this situation and the land care, Winlithia Spring, the lithium means healing waters, and it comes from the fact that traces of lithium have been found in the water. My great grandfather, who built this house in 1908, which is the one that the Winds live in, or he owns, had the spring captured. And the beginnings of what you see there now at the spring, built between 1910 and 1913, and donated it to the community. The sides or wings, or as you see in a 1944 picture, and he did send me pictures. I'm sending along with earlier and more current pictures. My great aunt had seats put around it with the rocks were added. 6 generations of our family down to my great grandson, and 6 generations of the community have enjoyed water from the spring for over 100 years. I think that this ecologically sensitive area would be greatly changed negatively by the installation of a driveway between the spring and the creek. Also, from a practical standpoint, cars and constantly parking to get water from the spring exactly in the spot where the driveway would come out to the road. Please let me know if you need additional information. And I'm sorry I confused Nancy. I know that you're with the lodge, and I'm sorry I put that in first, but we are looking at the environmental impact, and that is strictly what we're hearing, and we're wanting to report that in the next month or two, we'll have more perhaps comments made by the public. But we are not taking any political stands as land care, and Martha explains it beautifully. So I'd like to transition to Martha, please, because you've been talking to a lot of folks about the lodge.
Excuse me. Oh, you want to switch to the lodge? I was going to say, for those who don't know, Winlithia Spring is on North Carolina Terrace. And if you drive or walk up that way, you'll see sometimes several cars parked, people filling up jugs. So take a look at that spring sometime if you get a chance. That's the environmental concern that's being brought by Bob Wynn.
And there's a neighbor near the spring that would have that driveway go up by the spring, between the spring and the
Right.
creek. And so there's some big issues, not only maybe with our environmental concerns, but with the state and local. So
Right.
that is the interference
Right.
there.
And the neighbor does not own the property. So there's some, lots of issues to be dealt with. So this is not a quick thing that's going to happen, but it's something to be aware of, certainly.
Yeah.
So who does own the property, and who approves or disapproves this proposal?
Well, nothing has come yet to the town, as I understand it, Alex, yet from the private homeowners.
That's correct. I haven't actually applied for any sort of building permit or zoning certificate. The property is owned by the town of Montreat, and it's kind of a complicated set of scenarios, but the zoning ordinance requires that driveways be placed in front of a property and not to the side of a property. But there are exceptions made when the neighboring property owner gives permission to cross the property. So the town would have to if it were to go forward, the town would have to decide whether or not to get permission to cross the property to go forward. But there's also a creek there that requires the state. It's oh shoot. It's a determination of the stream, but so the Department of Environmental Quality would have to first pass off or approve or deny construction of the driveway around over the creek, because they want to actually cross the creek. So first it would have to be approved by the state, then it would have to be approved by the town council, and then they would go through the buildings permit process.
And what is our official role, if any?
In Landcare?
Yeah.
We're just addressing the environmental concerns, and we would be obviously not having a vote at Landcare, but advising the town that this is and that's what we'll be getting from this state regulatory or the Environmental Protection Agency. Is that clear? Is that what you would say, Martha, or anybody?
Yeah. And I'd say that the creeks are interesting, as Alex knows, the creeks are very interesting entities in terms of permitting. There are creeks that flow all the time, and there are creeks or streams that are intermittent that would flow when we've had a big rain. You see those kind of dry rock beds around, or little places around houses or coming into roads. So but they're all streams. So you can't to build near, there's limitations, and Alex knows about those, how close you can get to a stream, and certainly to cross a stream, there are a lot of issues. I think we stay informed about it, but we aren't involved in the decision making.
Yeah.
But we want to be supportive of all sides. I think one of our issues also is property use, that kind of relates to what happens with property that belongs to the town. You know, how do we support the town? Somebody said to me yesterday, infrastructure, which we're hearing a lot about on the news, infrastructure includes our use of land. In Montreat, the land is part of our infrastructure, and maintaining our land, and maintaining land for the future use or the future protection of the public. And I think Montreat's done a lot to protect land over the years, and we need to continue to keep that in mind, not just putting sections of land at the ridge line into some sort of category where it can't be built on protection, but also what about the land down low around? So that would be our part. I'm going to switch to the lodge. Nancy Fox is on with us, and I've communicated with Nancy and some other people, and some of you may have also received emails. I would say Nancy represents a group of citizens who are concerned about particularly in our case, the environmental impact of a new construction that the conference center proposes. The construction is on conference center land, and I don't think they're asking for any special permits in terms of where it's built on the land, but certainly any construction and they are replacing group housing with group housing, bigger group housing, but still the same purpose. But I think Nancy brings us the concern about how it impacts the environment. And this is more for our information. We won't be part of the decision, as a committee, of course, on this, but she wants us to be aware of that issue. Is that correct, Nancy? You'd have to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Martha. That is correct. I'm very concerned about our environment, and I'm so pleased that you all are too, because we are thinking about future generations of Montreaters for all people to enjoy our green space. And so thank you all for taking my comment. I appreciate that, Martha.
Thank you. And Martha, is any other update that you would like? We will probably continue to have information. I know that Nancy Midget had written an email, and this regards to the lodge. And this is what she quoted. She's writing, Richard DeVos. Can you tell me if any environmental studies have been done to assess the impact of a building the size of the proposed lodge with underground parking on the surrounding ground and particularly Flat Creek? If so, how have they informed the planning process? And Richard wrote back, and I was copied on this from Nancy. And Nancy is, of course, head of Firewise, but has a representative to come to Landcare, but she's under our umbrella. Nancy, good question. This is Richard responding. The conference center has engaged an engineering firm to handle the civil engineering due diligence. And I can't remember the firm's name, but then he said the scope of work will certainly include an evaluation of the tightly stormwater impact or the lightly stormwater impact and the required mitigation as well as a geotechnical evaluation of the site itself. Obviously, if these studies uncover any challenges, we will adjust our design accordingly. I think in other conversations that maybe Martha had with Richard on a walk, they're looking at the building with being a green roof and having solar, making it environmentally structured that would be up to those standards. So Martha, any other comment on that with Richard's comments to you?
Well, I think they're just at this point, almost, they're not really guessing, but they're not sure what the impact is until they get the study back.
Right.
They do want to build a LEED certified building, which, as you know, has very high standards. He said that one of the questions they have now is whether the geothermal wells, and for those of you know that if you want to have geothermal heat and air, you have to dig wells in various places depending on the location and size of the building to provide that function. They're not sure if they'll be able to do geothermal because of the work they will do in mitigating stormwater and water on that property. So they're balancing a lot of things, but they'll balance it all around the environmental impact and the necessary, because the town requires it, the necessary mitigation for things like stormwater. So I talked to him, on the side of the road, so I don't have a written report from him, but I know there are lots of things to consider. And I think Nancy's input is very important because that helps to remind the conference center of community concerns about the environment. But Nancy had her hand up.
Yes, thank you so much, Martha. I apologize for interrupting. Did I miss your reading of my comments? Because I didn't hear your reading of my comments, but I tuned in a little late.
Yeah, that's all right. Grace has those, or we can hunt for those.
I have a copy. I mean, I can look it up on my phone, but if you do have it, I would be grateful if you could read it for the purpose of the group's benefit. Thank you.
I think it is the one.
I'm loading it. I'm loading it. Like
here it is. Do you want to read it or do you want to? Go ahead, Martha.
You go ahead. You go ahead. It's still loading on my phone.
I am thankful. Here it goes, Nancy. I am thankful to hear that your committee is working on conservation projects that protect, preserve, and present the natural features of our code. How are you engaged in protecting, preserving, and presenting conservation of land and water of the new 33,000 square foot hotel conference center planned for historic Georgia Terrace through to Assembly Drive? Are you aware of any environmental studies that have been done regarding land and water in preparation for this new huge commercial development on a largely residential area filled with wildlife habitats and mature trees, native fauna and land that has been undisturbed since the founding of Montreat? Has any member of your committee walked the largely residential site with schematics in hand in order to evaluate how this new large-scale development will impact the protection, preservation, and presentation of conservation of Montreat for future generations? Has your committee reviewed planning and zoning? I appreciate your reading my public statement, and I appreciate all your volunteer hours to protect and to preserve Montreat. With gratitude for our treasured land, Nancy Jones Fox. And I still feel that there's a lot that we're going to be learning, and we're wanting to have any conversations with any of, I know Mr. Moffett has talked to me, and we are good listeners, and we also know that the town knows that their processes. And Alex, I'm sure that you will be keeping us informed of any of that information through Alice.
Good.
Any other comments or questions? And thank you, Nancy, for that.
Yes. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay. So any other comments regarding our environmental concerns or any other? I will put up to next month, but I do have one with stormwaters that I'll speak to briefly under a report on the rain gardens project. So if not, we'll move into our activity and projects report. We will.
Just to let you know,
Excuse
Grace, Gene Norris has gotten on and Ed Kramer has
Cool.
gotten on. So
Oh, welcome, Ed. We're glad you're on too.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you. You're part of our stream team. Talked to Bill Seaman about you yesterday, so we're glad you're here. Bill is going to be reporting next in May or June to follow up with his splendid reporting on, of course, the Flat Creek and our treasure and the responsibility of our code to take care of our waterways. And Meredith Green is going to report. There was an attachment that was mailed, was obviously attached to our agenda. So Meredith, tell us what's going on with the Firewise.
Well, I think first
Happy
of all,
news.
yeah, first of all, the town council did approve a motion, I think it was on March 11th, to allow students or handyman to bag leaves and put them out by the road, that Montreat would pick them up and dispose of them. On a second note, Nancy Midget, who's a wonderful writer, wrote for a grant of $500, and it was awarded to Firewise.
Check it out first.
Well, I suggested that to her. She just answered that she's going to be busy and make surgeries tomorrow, and she's going to be busy, but she may have some other people go check it out, find out what concentration of flowers are ahead of time, and that she really didn't have time to read on here. So I told her,
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what that is. Maybe someone's mic has not been muted. Oh, it's okay.
Joe.
Meredith.
Anyway, Nancy Midget was able to get a grant for $500, and it was offered by the National Fire Protection Agency. And so people that are, maybe need some help bagging leaves in the spring or fall, however long the money lasts, have to apply for the money through Nancy Midget. And her email, I think, was listed on that paper.
Yes.
It's wonderful. Once that's given out, then it's done. But
Yes. And it's been addressed on the community announcements, and it's out there for those homeowners who would like to have those college students and maybe given 2 hours that would come from that money of $500. And then if they wish to pay the college students more after that, they're able to. But it's really for the twigs and the leaves that are too close to the houses and need to be 30 feet away. So she's organizing that. And Meredith, thank you for that report. If there are any questions regarding that from anyone, read the community announcements or even the Montreat Minute, and you'll see that the tree board, Firewise, and Landcare have joined together to get this project moving. I am happy to announce that the Rain Gardens project is going to be discussed in May, but Bill Roberts sent me through Martha a great email. He is personally constructing on his property a rain garden, and he would not want to be included as far as a land care committee person, but I am getting people to move into looking at all the rain gardens, including the beautiful one at the town, and to educate beyond just the brochure, that lovely one that we have in I guess it's inside and outside of the town hall. But we will talk about the rainwater, stormwater next month and in June. So we'll skip through to introduce our new member of the Landcare, Jim Williamson. He said he would want us, I told him he could start in May, but he is jumping in and participating, and I'd like to welcome him. He is going to be working with me and attending the April 13th seminar if he's able to. I've registered and I'm going to get him registered through Katie Whitmer. So we are on our way with having our community wildlife habitat be Jim Williamson as our member. And welcome, Jim, again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you, everybody. I'm happy to be a part.
And I think we'll do a more formal introduction and background next month, if that would be okay with you, because I want to make sure we have your bio correct, because I'd like to brag about you, not only as a friend and neighbor, but as a professional. Now, Jean Norris, this is the timely one. We're glad you're here. Between the time we have left, which is about 20 minutes, if we can get everything in by 10, I know that many of the other reports we can be moving into May, but the native plant sale and Patty Powell's children and outdoors update, let's divide up our time there, because we need to have some discussion, and I don't want to put any pressure on anyone. And if you can remain after 10 for other discussions, that would be great. But welcome, Jean.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm so sorry I'm late. All my reminders said 9:30 and I thought I was just in the nick of time. Oh, sorry. Okay. Almost everyone in front of us has seen a copy of the draft up to about stage 2, which is, yes, 1 page of text, and then we go into a table that lists a whole bunch of vendors. I actually have a preliminary quote for printing, if that's how we decide we want to go, so we could have that to think with. But the questions that I have for this are whether people are happy with the text content, limiting it to the 1 page, is that the right stuff in it? And then the table of resources. What we wanted to get was everybody who had actually participated in past native plant sales. And there's 1 or 2 in there that might still be a little bit questionable. Since then, commenters have wanted me to include Reams Creek Nursery. When I looked it up, that seems reasonable. And also a garden gift shop called Time in the Garden, I think. I looked that up and I'm not quite as convinced that that's reasonable, because I'm not sure I see the native plant emphasis there. I'm not sure we have everyone in the list who donated to the raffle. I don't know if I ever did have that complete list, so I think I may need to work back to Kathy Dodson to try to be sure that that's covered. So I'm still open to, are the right people in there? Are we missing some people? Do we want it to be somehow even more complete? And here's a point that might speak to that. The printing quote with recommendations from Sam, the designer at UPS, is for an 11 by 17 fold out, which would give us 4 pages that we can fill one way or another. We are a little bit shy of 4 pages at this point. I could make bigger text boxes with bigger text. I could make bigger logos. We could add some more people. We could think about it as perhaps a little more complete resources piece. Would we want to list any of the leading seed catalogs for native plants, for instance? Or do we just rely on the other documents that are already referenced in that first page to do some of that? So those are the things I want to think about with your help, of course. And the printing quote, just so we have a ballpark here, is for slightly elevated paperweight, 11 by 17, making it into a fold booklet. Black and white, 100 copies would be $54 plus tax. Color, $182 for the same 100 plus tax. So it's like 3 times the price if we do it in color. I'd probably donate the color. But then the next question would be, what exactly is our distribution list and what is our best method?
Good.
We probably want print. Can we distribute them from the post office? Gracie was going to look into that. Do we need to mail them? Then we have some postage to add to it. So those are our questions. But I think probably content first and then distribution.
Okay.
Does anyone have anything to add to the content, plus or minus?
I've had good relationships with Bloom. They have a farm out on North Fork, and she has donated some bulbs around and also has native things to sell. So we might add her.
Okay.
She's in there, Maggie.
Hmm?
She's in there, Black Mountain Bloom.
Oh, I missed it. Sorry.
Okay. Well, you might have seen a previous version that didn't have quite everything in. I'm not sure that the version that you have has Ream Creek.
Ah,
I have added it because it seems appropriate.
Mhm. What about 10,000 villages? Did you say you did want to?
I think I may have them in there, and they've always
Yeah.
participated with us, so
Yes.
that's probably appropriate.
Yes. The post office, you cannot leave pamphlets out, but you can put a very, lovely poster up on the bulletin board, which could be what you're referring to as advertising. And we've done that in Black Mountain at various places. So I think a colored poster, and maybe go to, I'm with you if saying the black and white is fine for the fold out. What does anyone else think about that?
I think color would be better. I mean, it's all about flowers and plants and,
yes,
it's noticed more, I think, when you have color.
more eye-catching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
it's,
I
it's,
like
it's,
the idea of putting up posters about the handout. We did put up posters about the garden, about the sale around town, and this might be a good way to publicize that.
we have money in that 800 to do so. And also there's been, I know it's pricey, but the Black Mountain News had you in the past, and the native plant sale have advertised there. That's another area of publicity.
and I think if those posters point to the website and this
Yeah.
pamphlet is available on the website, that might cut down on some of the printing of the pamphlet itself.
That's a good
The
point.
community announcements also will be used, and the Montreat Minute. So that's, a lot of people read that daily, weekly on Mondays, and then the follow-up with Montreat Minute. So the publicity of the brochure, since we created it, we can put it even out there in the public domain.
And all our entities have publicity groups,
Yeah.
like the college has a publicity group, and we
Yeah.
can use those too.
Right.
So
I
thank you.
think-
Go ahead.
I think that makes us think about whether or not it's important to print the brochures, or if it's more important to print posters pointing to the online brochure. I don't, that's just a question that I have. I don't know how people access information, but it seems like if the pamphlet is available online, there may not be a need to print a lot of the pamphlets. It looks great, by the way. I think it's really
Indeed.
well done,
Indeed.
but I'm just wondering how people access information anymore.
Dottie, that brings up a good point. I was wondering, it's not a barcode, but it's a thing that I guess you have to have a certain phone that you can click on it, and realtors used it. I don't know how effective.
A QR code.
Right. And I know Black Mountain Bistro did it for their menu early on before you weren't supposed to touch anything. So I don't know how expensive those are or how you would get that made, but maybe people would walk by with their phone and click on it and go right to the website.
Cool.
Yeah, anybody can make a QR code. You just need the
Anybody?
website, and then you just make it into it's not hard.
Oh, okay. I don't know. That might be something to put on a poster if people wanted to.
A question back to Jean. Is there a deadline that you were hoping to have? Because certainly it was end of April when we would have the actual sale. would it be, we could move into even discussion the finalization in early May with our first Wednesday meeting? Would that make it too long, or just go ahead and say, communicate with me and others through your emails and we can support you?
Well, I was hoping that we could make end of April,
Yeah.
but we've still got some moving parts here.
Mhm.
So maybe having it final for the first meeting in May makes some sense. I don't know. That was part of what I wanted as feedback from you guys, is how fast
Yeah.
do you think this needs to be concluded?
But we don't want to miss planting time either. I
Yes.
don't,
Right.
Right.
I think it's important to get it out there as people start, because as soon as the weather gets sunny like it has been, it seems like people want to start planting.
Yeah. Well, that would obviously be before when they say Mother's Day is your time for getting out but the perennials and yeah, obviously, Jean, would you like to set a motion to start beginning to at least approve the money of a colored or a black if we do brochures, or do you want to wait on the thinking of the brochure printing?
I like the idea of having it be paper in hand, because I think not all of our folks are connected to the web in a way, and they don't have color printers. So I like having some copies color printed.
Yes.
The question is how many? If we're
Mhm.
thinking one for each actual household, do we actually even know how many households there are in Montreat?
Right.
I think we finally did kind of get a population count, but households, I don't know if we ever pinned down.
Well, what about the pamphlet? Would it have, it wouldn't have any dates on it? Are you putting in spring, or could it even go into fall? Because that's really when the perennials are needing to be put in better time in the fall. So
I
these
think
brochures could be used after this month.
they could, and I think the brochure itself might evolve a little over time. So I'm thinking if we print, we don't want to print more than we need, because there might be a version next year that was a little longer or shorter for some reason. But some kind of a date coded in the very bottom of it, just so that you know which version you're looking at, is a good idea. But other than that, I don't know that we need to identify it as a seasonal thing at all.
Yeah, because you could have it available even with the cottagers coming in and selling tickets for you can have it at a tent at the post office, because we can even use other brochures there because we will be selling directories, and the Montreat Cottagers Inc. will likely, if there's a parade, have a barbecue the 2 weeks before the 4th of July. So we can have any leftover brochures available for people coming in new, and as you've said, Jean, gardening in Montreat, that is something that you were challenged with and wanted some guidance. And I really commend, this is a beautiful fold out, and you've done a lot of hard work on it.
Still a little to do, clean up formatting, check phone numbers, things like that. But
Yeah.
it's a little at this point, I think.
We'll give, if there's any other comment, is there a consensus that we maybe go ahead with the color print with thinking of the 100, and that would give us, you have the funds in our present account for that. Is that okay with everyone? Any major votes? Should we have a motion? If so, what would it be?
Are you talking just brochures
have a-
or posters too?
Posters and the printing cost for the posters and brochure
Okay.
color.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm curious about, with the folded 11 by 17, how will those be distributed? Because that's an interesting size when it's folded. I mean, are we going to be mailing them, or should we put our emphasis into these posters and the link? It doesn't cost a lot to have Sam redesign something that's just for bulletin board. That's really inexpensive. Anyway, I'm just curious about the distribution and that format.
And we haven't really thought about rack cards. So,
Right.
and I
Right.
don't know if that's an appropriate place for them or not, but there are a lot of rack cards around.
Yeah.
Card racks.
Well, what this would fold to is a full-size ordinary sheet of paper.
Right.
Just a single fold on the 11 by 17 printed on both sides is what Sam was proposing, which I think would work fine.
Mm-hmm.
Loose pages 4 would also work fine. Then you'd have to staple it. Then you're probably on lighter weight paper. That would work too.
But are these going in the mail or are they going to sit out on tabletops? I'm just curious about where they'll be and how they'll be displayed, if you will.
Well,
I cannot remember when you are, if you have a bulk public like you get in your PO boxes, where people with even like in the campaigns would put in, everyone has, it's just a resident, it's not addressed. And I'm not sure the price of that. I would get back on you on that, but that was one area that you had discussed, but let's explore that, Jean. I think this is some good discussion. Is there a need to go through the fact that we have that budgeted money, and then we'll see how that distribution works out as we plan further on this?
I have a question about the town office. Is there a place that people could swing by to pick it up at the town office?
We could distribute it at the clerk's office. Yeah, we could do that. A rack card or a card rack outside, but I'm not sure it'd be large enough for this fold out.
yeah.
And the nature center for the conference center.
The conference center front desk potentially, but I think that would all have to be clearly stated on the poster then as to where you pick up the pamphlet. It seems like the pamphlet would be too busy for a poster. I would suggest a simplified poster that just says, go pick up your pamphlet, and maybe a teaser of why this is so awesome to pick up and where to pick it up.
And a direction to the website.
Yes.
Link to the
Yes, the link to
Yeah.
the website definitely needs to be on there somewhere, whether it's a full URL or the QR code. And I bet the people at UPS can help you with the QR code if you wanted it on the poster.
website.
Cool. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this expenditure of this money, and that we further discuss the details of distribution among with Jean and others.
Okay.
Having heard all this conversation and taken it in under advisement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Kind of wordy.
I'll second.
Does everyone understand what we're voting on? Thank you, Maggie. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have moved. Jean, thank you, thank you, thank you. Looking at our 5 minutes, but it's going to work for me to go over a little bit but Patty Powell is next, and she actually, I said 2 attachments, but it's really the trifold is what she's going to be asking for, some more funding. And Patty, go ahead.
Okay, real quick. First of all, thank you. Even though Jason isn't here, he helped me take inventory of all of our brochures. And Dottie, thanks for posting on campus a wonderful poster one of her students made that highlights the backpacks that are available. I have been working with Sam at UPS on the design of the trifold brochure. And the idea is to, spend a little money, and I've got a recommendation, and I'll say at the end. But this trifold to place in the card racks at Assembly Inn and Town Hall, post one in the post office, and then to work on a much more comprehensive distribution of this sort of invitational idea to use our track trail and participate in Kids in Parks, that we would save that until later in the fall after we've had a chance to talk more about who should really get it and how much inviting we want to do. But the cost for just doing 100 of the trifolds, a bulletin board card, and one master 8.5 by 11 that could be copied would be $106. And the new brochure, Hiking for Lichens, that I recommend we post and rotate out one of the less popular brochures at our kiosk would be $80. So I guess I'm quickly asking that $186 be spent for those two items. And then also just want you to know that working on links for the website that would be interesting to folks, using all the resources that we're becoming more familiar with through Kids in Parks, all my conversations with the folks there and at the Arboretum. And lastly, but probably most importantly, we are due for a new memorandum of understanding with Kids in Parks. And it will include a necessary maintenance fee. I have not yet seen this new memorandum, but it's something that we'll be needing to talk about, because right now the maintenance fee that should be being paid is $400, and we have never paid that in the 3 years that our track trail's been in existence. So I'll have more details on that at the next meeting, but we can expect that there will need to be something in the budget for future about Kids in Parks maintenance fee. So that's it. $186 would be great if we can vote on that today.
Yep. Is there a motion that I would like to have put out on the floor, please?
Are we talking about a color or a black and white?
Black and white, plain paper, really simple.
I think I could potentially have that printed out of my budget here at the college so that we wouldn't have to spend that.
Wow.
Dottie, you're a queen of the day.
All right. Well, that will help. And that will be $106 that we could save. But the $80 for the lichen brochure is something that we would need to spend and pay to Kids in Parks.
Sure.
And I also have a recommendation that Kids in Park kiosk and all of that, it seems like we should include that in the town budget somehow. I don't know why this committee would be in charge of that. You know, I know we initiated the relationship, but maybe when you're putting in a request for the budget,
Okay.
you can include that is a separate item that's going to need to be paid annually, I think.
Mhm.
And, you know, if the town really, I mean, we
Yeah.
are part of the town, but it feels like, and Alex, maybe you can chime in on this, but it seems like it should have a commitment beyond our committee and the things that this committee does.
Remember that we were given 8,000 donation from the Kids in the Park, primarily because of Olson Huff. I'm assuming that relationship, because he actually was the ground, you know, got this moving for as a pediatrician, that kids need to be in the outdoors to be healthy. And so all of the signage and all of those boxes was donated. We have not paid anything toward the Kids in the Park. So it's very reasonable. He said that Jason said there, the kid, not Nance, but Patty was speaking to him, that they don't know if the 400 was a little stiff for a lot of corporations or organizations, and I don't know if he'll half it to 200, but I'd like that thought. Any other comments with Dottie's proposal that we?
Yeah, I do want to say that the town budget under the North Carolina Constitution is required to be adopted each year, and the commission is preempted from committing future years funding. It has to be adopted every year. So there's no more commitment if it were coming through the town budget than if it were coming through the Landcare budget for future expenditures.
Right,
Okay.
but I guess what I'm saying, if we could just list our Landcare needs and
Yeah.
then our additional $400 need, just to list that separately so the town is aware that we're just not doing projects with the money, but we're supporting this.
Yeah, this budget planning worksheet has that, and it is itemized. But as I said, if it comes up to that, it's 2,400. We know that we have to use that, and it is expected to be used by the end of the fiscal year. So I thank you, Dottie. That's, any other comments to support what Dottie's saying? And I understand what Alex is.
And
Oh,
I'll
sorry.
also make the motion to spend that $80 on the, it's the lichen brochure. Is that right, Patty?
Correct.
Okay, we have a motion about spending $80 on the lichen brochure. All in favor, or is there a do we have to have a second if it's a committee report coming? Is there a
Just
need for a second?
to
Oh.
spend money, you have to have a second.
Okay, thank you, Hal. Are you seconding it then?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And Patty, we're going to hear more even in May with Kids in Park, because there's a lot that I wanted to bring up that we have had good discussions on, and I appreciate what you have done. We have gotten to have a wonderful relationship with getting to know each other through text and phone calls and walking the grounds. Thank you, Patty. Any other comment, Patty?
No, that's it for today.
Okay,
Patty, you and I
you'll be
can get together to talk about the printing.
Okay.
Thank you. We will be skipping over the hemlock conservation only because we have no representation of a person reporting, but we are looking at the Forest Service of Buncombe County. They do an enormous amount, and I will be sending out info for even the community of how they can manage the hemlock and arboretum online. There's so many programs for protecting our hemlocks and opportunities for in-person meetings at the Arboretum and other places. Okay, our entity reports, just to tell you, the attachment was sent for Alice. And what I particularly wanted her to know, and for you all to know, is that that she is very, very pleased that we had the people from the town and taking pictures when we had pet waste or we had other issues. Also with the leaves being picked up, and she sees it as a citizen involvement, land care involvement, tree board involvement, and finally with approval and with her help of getting a lot of our needs met through the town council's voting, and that's what Meredith had reported on earlier. The tree board is, I don't think Ann is on. There's no report except for that community announcement about the $500 that we're jointly helping her out, meaning Nancy Midget. Josh Holbrook is in Paraguay and he will be reporting May and June. But Dottie, I think you've had some other issues or topics that you would like to share or not?
No, I just wanted to make sure everybody saw this poster. I'm holding it up right now. This is what Patty was referencing. You might see these around the campus for sure. And if anybody has any ideas of where else they should be posted, I am willing to print more. This is all about the backpack program. So I don't know, we took one to the conference center desk and we'll put one over at the nature center, but if anybody has, I don't have one for the town. I could do one at the town office. Would that work, Alex? Is there a place to post? Or at the post office? I don't.
There is a place at the
Office.
town office.
Okay, I'll print a few more and they're laminated so they can be kind of outside.
Great. Thank you, Dottie. You're a great resource for us on our Kids in the Park. Jim Williamson has now joined our Landcare. He has no need for any report till after the April 13th webinar with the National Wildlife. And we welcome again you, Jim. We are pleased you're here.
Thank you.
And Jason Nance has now been driving back after his second shot, and he will be reporting about the Trail Club and any other wilderness activities from the conference center. No report from me for the cottagers. That's just a sort of a dormant committee, but we hold monies there. But I see Hal Dimmers has joined us. Any report from you? And that would be our last entity report.
Yes, 2 items. Quickie pat on the back. We're been recertified as an Earth Care congregation again at Montreat Pres. And in conjunction with that program, we are sponsoring Interfaith Power and Light's presentation of The Ground, which is a movie by Woody Harrelson on regeneration, which is a different way to treat your land, and with the possibility of having that actually help the environment instead of hurt it. And that is available for free through the congregation. And I think if you get the weekly Montreat memo, you'll find a link there. And if you like, I can send that out to everybody here. You can go ahead and just sign up as part of us without being a member of the congregation itself. There's no check on that. You would have to supply Interfaith Power and Light with your name and email address, and they'll send you back a way to link in. They're pretty good. They don't abuse that.
Oh, good.
In any case. I have not had a problem with them over the years.
Okay, how does the group feel that Al would send us that link as a committee of Landcare members?
It's
Okay.
it's a good movie. I've seen it already.
And one thing is, once you get the link, you have a window of time to see the movie of
Yes.
like a couple of weeks time. So it doesn't mean you have to see it on a certain day at a certain time. So it can be, I presume you could see it more than once if you wanted to, but it's got a good link. Maybe, have you seen the movie, Dottie? You looked like you were familiar with it. Anyway.
Great.
Thank you for working that out.
Yeah,
Thank you, Hal. Are you in Florida or are you here?
No, we're still in Florida. We'll be coming up the 1st of May.
Well, welcome. The spring is springing here.
Well, just the last to follow up on Martha's, yeah, the movie will be available online the 10th through I think it's the 26th of April, and you can watch it anytime in there once you sign up for it.
Thank you, Hal.
And I have one other thing. Jason is having a trail work day on April 24th to work on our trails. So that can be for anybody. You don't have to be a hiker to be out doing things. The last time we had one back in the spring, in the fall, some of us went around and cleaned the informational signs along Flat Creek and at the post office. They just get kind of mildewy and dirty over time. So if people can mark their calendar for the morning at least of the 24th of April, Jason will be sending something out, but he appreciates hands. You don't, like I said, you don't have to climb trees or move big rocks, but it's a good time for trail maintenance as the summer is approaching.
You bring your own clippers? You clip branches and stuff?
He has some tools. Hal, didn't you do it the last time? I can't remember, but anyway, he has some tools available. Bring gloves for sure and water. And he has some tools, but it won't hurt at all to bring your own clippers.
Yeah, great. And I will follow up with Jason and maybe add some addendum to the minutes if he has some other announcements, as well as anyone else who would like to get something out, including Jean, anything you would like the committee to know of any other decisions. But I don't know if we still have our public on, but we're asking if there's any public comments or questions, and we welcome those in the future. Nancy, if you're still there, thank you for coming. Ed and Mary Standard. Anybody else? Our next Landcare meeting is May 5th, and it is the first Wednesday, always at 9. And that is now on, I'm putting that on the website because we have been able to figure out through Ann Neal. She said it took me a while, but I'm putting in the Zoom meeting time and how the public can go on through the website. And Alex, we really appreciate your time. We thank you for setting us up and for your clarifications today. And if you have recorded it, that would be wonderful, because Meredith Green enjoys having that for her minutes. And and Alex, would you like to say anything else?
No, thank you everybody for your contributions.
And we appreciate and looking forward to hearing from the town about any other needs that I need to know about. And we wish Alice Lance, I think she's in great shape. She's got had a cataract surgery yesterday, and her cousin Meredith, our secretary, reports that she's all intact and doing well. Okay, everyone. And again, thank you for your time. We did go over, but I think it was important that we have our public comments. We can't always, judge that timing, but keep the faith, keep saving the world, and act now. Don't delay. So long.
Bye.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.